Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. Los Angeles-based artist Sijia Chen transforms the centuries-old craft of Chinese paper cutting into vivid contemporary collages, paintings, and large-scale sculptures. She was taught the intricacies of Jianzi, which is Chinese paper cutting, within her family. And she integrates that heritage with collage, paint, and 3D construction, like the one, if you're watching this on YouTube, this interview, like the one behind her. She examines identity, diaspora, and community memory. Born in Shantou, China, Sijia now lives and works in Los Angeles. She earned a BFA from Guangzhou Academy of Fine Arts and an MFA from the Tyler School of Art at Temple University. Her projects often engage communities, layering personal narrative with shared histories of migration and belonging. Her public art practice encompasses a range of projects, from community-built pieces to commissioned works, including her selection for a Wichita public artwork and ongoing site-specific initiatives. Recent highlights include the 2023 exhibition of Dual Visions at William D. Cannon Art Gallery in Carlsbad, California, and Chen Collective Voices at the Guangdong Folk Arts Museum in China. She is currently a featured artist in Unfold at the Rubinstein Chan Contemporary Art in Carpinteria. I'm going to give you information about how you can go if you're anywhere near Santa Barbara, Carpinteria, Southern California. I'd like you to check out Sijia Chen's work at Unfold at the Rubinstein Chan Contemporary Art Gallery, which just opened a couple weeks ago. I was lucky enough to be able to attend. It was beautiful. Okay, so welcome, Sijia. Welcome back.
Hi, Jeremiah. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm very excited to be here with you and to share my story with you and your audience. Thank you for having me.
Thank, yeah, thank you. You have been very busy. I know you're traveling all over the place for your artwork and for various events. And so I feel very privileged to have a few minutes with you today and to get to know you. So you were raised in Shantou,
Yep.
China.
Yep.
Okay. And then you later trained in Guangzhou.
Yes.
Which part of that pathway
Hmm.
has most shaped your visual and artistic language that you use today, that you call upon?
Oh, that's a very good question. So, I was born and raised in Shantou, which is a small coastal city in southeast China. I often joke about it's a small town with only 7 million people. So when I was 16, 15, 16-ish, I went to Guangzhou for my art high school. Guangzhou was about 5 hours away by car. And then I joined this art school and stay there by myself. So this experience, well, later in Guangzhou, I also attended my BF, got my BFA, attended my college there. This experience really shaped me in the way that first I left home at such a young age without knowing really who I am. I just know that I wanted to learn art, study art, so I went. So it really it really opened my eyes to a bigger city, a metropolitan city, what it feels like to live there. And during that time, it also made me aware to some degree who I am because you are in this place that you meet people from different background, different region of China. You started to understand, Okay, so I'm from this city called Shantou. She is from probably this place north of China. So everyone bring in their own stories, their backgrounds. So during that time, you get to understand the differences between you and your classmates. And through those differences, you're like, oh, okay, so I'm Shantonese. I'm Deosuan. I'm Shantonese. That's how it influenced me. And also living in a bigger city just makes the fast pace makes you really get excited and open your eyes about different art because there was a big art museum, Canton Art Museum there. Later, I will have the privilege to show my work and have my work acquired by them. But they showcase artwork from artists all around the world. So you open your eyes and say, okay, so there's so many different arts, so many different genres. So yeah, it really helped my growth as both a person and an artist.
And realizing at that age, had you thought much about your ancestry or your where you were from and what that meant uh, as defining you as a person, as an artist? Or was it at this age when you went to school that you um, really looked at that as a sense of pride and an education, educated yourself on where you were from and what that meant?
So at that time, it was more helped me realize the importance of family.
Hmm.
And it's when not necessarily ancestor at that time because I was too young to really think about that,
Yeah.
but it really made the distance between me and my family because I only got to see them a few times a year in summer breaks, in spring breaks, and probably one holiday or so. So the distance made me understand just how important they are to me and how much I love them. It brought us closer. So I started talking to my parents on a daily basis. When I was living at home, you just say, "Hey, mom, hey, dad, bye."
Mhm.
Right? But when you're away, I started to share my life more with them. So it was at that time I would understand my ties with them and also my ties with my hometown, Shantou, like how much I miss the city, how much I miss the people there in general and the culture there. So yeah, in that sense, it helped me to appreciate where I'm from.
And culturally, describe the city. What is it? What is it known for? What is it? Where does that pride come from about your city?
So Shantou is a very interesting little place in China. It's one of the first port city that was opened up during the in the modern time. I think it was opened up in the mid 19th centuries, 18, I don't want to say the dates wrong, in the mid 19th centuries. So it started as a small fish town, a small fish villages. People gather there, and then around that time, it opens, become a port city, and people from foreign countries start to come and do business through that port with inland China. So from day one, the city was, in a sense, it was has a mix of old and new because people who live in the city were from the nearby cities who were much much older. There's a 1,000 years old city called Deoju, really close to Shantou. Most people who live in Shantou from nearby regions who has a much older history. But they came here, they brought their history, their culture, and then they're confronted with all these new cultures and people from all around the world. So it's a very interesting town in that way that it really makes old and new, and it has a sense of progressiveness, a sense of understanding to the world. But at the same time, because people's background, the city also value very much about traditions, about ancestors, about local culture. So the ancestor praying in my city is a big, big thing. Different holidays, people would just bring offering. To have ceremonies and bring offering to their ancestors, and you pray to them all the time. So it's a city that it's interesting in that way. It also has a very significant food culture. We're by the sea, so we are known for knowing how to cook seafood. And
Mhm.
nowadays, it's a very popular destination for food, for travel. Yeah.
You mentioned when you were young, like we all, when we all grow up with our parents, and most of the time we sort of roll our eyes at them, when they give us advice or they try to teach us
Sure.
things about, right? We're teenagers, we're young, we think we know the best way to live. And then when you moved away, you started getting closer to them. When, when you were growing up with your father, your mother, was art a way to speak to each other that you weren't able to put into words at that age? Was it a way to connect with your family? Because I know you've talked about learning paper cutting from your family. And what did that apprenticeship look like? And were you able to connect through art?
So my dad was my first art teacher. He taught me paper cut and he also taught me drawing, sketchings, all of those. Learn Learning paper cut from him as a little girl, it was more just something to do for fun. It was not
Mhm.
necessarily something I'm gonna practice, but just for fun. But then as I grow a little older, I was like, all right, I want to study all this cool stuff. I want to study paintings, oil paintings, sounds so cool. Photographies, installations, sculpture, all this. I want to explore all of those. And I was born in the 80s and grew up in the 90s. So in that time, the Western art has really made its way into the Chinese audience and especially in the art communities. So those are new stuff. It looks very cool. I wanted to do those. So paper cut become something that, okay, I know how to do it. It's something for fun I did as a little girl, but do I make it as my artistic language? Mm-mm. I wanted to do something more different than what my dad does. Something, more, more
You,
fun. Yeah, more me.
yeah.
So I studied oil painting in college and then did abstract art and also went to Thailand to further that study. So it was a little bit of a kind of like, I wouldn't say conscious or subconscious distancing from what I learned or my family. It's like, okay, I know what you do, but let me do my own thing. It was until when I moved to the States and then started to really explore my artistic voices here. And from that distance, I look back and look at paper cut, and then I realized, or I felt this strong connection between me and this craft. And the memory of how my father taught me what to do and the memory of us doing paper cutting together become much more precious. And
Mhm.
then I really wanted to pick it up and use paper cut as a connection between me and my dad, my family, and me and my ancestors, my histories, my cultures.
And that time that you spent with your father
Mhm.
learning the craft of and mastering paper cutting, did your father share stories of his life, his father's life, his grandfather's, grandmother's? Did he did he share and pass on some of those traditions or those lessons that from your ancestry? Did you guys have conversations like that? And what, or did it take moving away, far away from home to bring up that curiosity?
So it's a combination of both. We have conversation back then and now, like here and there. I felt like I don't know if it's common or not, but I felt like when parents are sharing their story with the kids, they don't necessarily think about, like, I'm gonna say everything. They just kind of spill out little bits of things here and there, and be like, oh, I didn't know that. And they were like, oh, you didn't know? For some reason, my dad sometimes tell me something he assume I know.
Mm.
But the journey of my dad and paper cut, it's quite and somewhat similar to mine. So my dad learned paper cut from his aunt. Paper cutting was viewed more as a craft, more as a female's art to some degree in China. It's oftentimes as something that women do when they have spare time, when they want to decorate their home. So they grab a piece of paper, cut it, and stick it to the window or use it on religious offering. So it's not necessarily viewed as an art form when he was younger, if that makes sense to you. It's more
Mhm.
a craft, a practice. So, but he loved it. He learned it from his aunt. He know how to do it. But he felt a little bit like me. He wanted to pursue something more academic, something more something not so crafty. He wanted to do something more artsy in that in his mind, or something I don't know, maybe not not as traditional in his view at the time. So he studied graphic design, he studied photography, he explored all of those. Well, and then he kind of kept the paper cut pursuing separately on the side as something he practiced, but he doesn't publish as much. He publishes a few pieces here there, but he doesn't kind of like bring the attention to that. But then as he grew a little older, very similar to me, just there's a calling about this art form and this connection between he and his family, his mom, his aunt. And he's like, I wanted to continue to do paper cut. So he take a deep dive in and started to explore paper cut and use it as his main visual language, artistic language. Isn't it interesting that, like father, like daughter?
Yeah, I was going to say the story, the parallels running alongside each other, similar experiences, similar desires, similar exploration of your art to determine who you are as an artist. The same sounds like he had a lot of the same thoughts and the same journey.
Yes,
Very,
yes,
very neat.
I
I
know.
should have asked you this in the beginning. Can you explain simply what paper cutting is?
Sure, sure, yes. I think our audience are probably so paper cut is
I mean, it sounds like probably what it is, but it's more than that.
so paper cut is using sharp tools, scissors, knife to create images on a piece of paper. So that is paper cut as an art form. It dates all the way back, believing people believe it dates all the way back to the fourth century, and it's practiced in many countries, China being one of them, but also very popular in Vietnam, Mexico, Switzerland, countries all around the world. It's an art form in China, in my hometown, Shantou. It's an art form that used for a few purposes. For window decoration, like in holidays, people will create paper cut mainly in red color and stick to the window, and in religious offerings. I mentioned the ancestor praying. So people will offer food, sometimes, for example, maybe a chicken, a whole chicken as an offering. And then people would cut a little paper cut and put it on top of that chicken as part of the practice. So it was mainly used on those two. And nowadays, paper cut is also used on gifting, like to print it on gifts, to print it on ceramics, to it expands and kind of people explore beyond the medium of just paper and trying to bring it into everyday life.
You in your art use non-traditional materials and
Yeah.
adhesives, and um, which of those are essential to your art, to your process?
So are you asking you're asking what
Yeah,
is essential in my paper cut art?
yeah, not some of the non-traditional
Oh,
materials that you use.
yeah.
Could you define a few of those? And then why are they essential to your process as an artist? Why have you chosen those materials?
So traditionally, paper cut is color paper. China, red, other countries could be other different colors. So my material come from the public. I collect materials, for example, different kind of papers from people, mainly in the people who move away, to show the impact of displacement, mainly from the immigrant community. So things that matters to them or things that are common in their life. For example, a lot of first generation immigrants work in the food industry, in the restaurant industry. So menu is an item that they are very familiar with. So I collect a lot of menus from restaurant, from immigrant-owned restaurants or restaurant has immigrant workers. And another material that's very common is visa application forms, documents. Everyone has to go through those. And it's so important. That little piece of paper, it's a gateway to your new life. So a
Mhm.
lot of people, when asking what's important paper in their journey as an immigrant, they sent me those materials like visa forms. And there are also other letters, photos, plane tickets. Those are the common things I received and I collect. So those materials are very important for my practice because my work is about showing the impact of human movement, showing the journey, the aspiration, the challenges of immigration life. Those papers are not just scraps, in my opinion. They are little witnesses,
Mhm.
documents that witness our life. So to collect them and to place them in my work, I felt like I'm creating a space for the memory to be preserved, for the story to be told, to be heard. So I use those non-traditional material to practice paper cut, and it connects me with my audience, with my culture, and with the broader community that I'm in.
Does your family have a migration story? Why did that become so important to you? Or is it just shared stories that of your community of friends and family?
Such a good question, Jeremiah. So Shantou being a port city, lots of people in Southeast China left from Shantou to go to Southeast Asia in the mid 19th centuries to work there. Among them is my great grandmother. So when I was little, there was this TV that is kind of the most precious household item, TV that I love. It's a gift from my great grandmother. She sent from Singapore on as a gift for my birth to my parents, to my family. So growing up, I barely saw her. She's just this mysterious person that live in Singapore, works there, and send money back home to support her family. Um, And then I thought she left. I thought she must live a very great life in Singapore, wealthy, so established and everything. But then later I found out she was just an ordinary worker, a laborer in Singapore. But she kept every penny so she can send back home to raise my grandmother and her sister.
Wow.
It was It, but then you just heard, okay, she worked there. She's a laborer. It doesn't register much, right, to you. It's just a story. But then after, later in my 20s or early 30s, I forgot, I went to Singapore to visit. By the time I was already living in America, I went to Singapore and I visited this little museum called Chinese Heritage Center in Chinatown. And I saw it, the museum kept exactly the little rooms immigrant workers live, the items that they use. And I saw how hard the life was. The room was tiny, was just a twin bed, a little bit bigger than a twin bed size. And guess what? Four workers would rotate to live there on a daily basis. So some people sleep during the day, some people sleep during the night, so the room is shared in that way. I don't know if
Oh,
that's how my great grandmother lived, but it could not be much better than that. It was very similar to those. People live like that. And with that, I came home to ask my grandmother, say, I saw this in Singapore. Can you tell me a little bit of how, Lao Ma, that's what we call her, like great grandmother lived. And then my grandmother shared that she knew how difficult my great grandmother loved, because she on her in her very last day she wanted to return home. So at the very end of her life, she returned to Shantou, spend time with her daughter, my grandmother, and share a little bit of the struggle she had in Singapore. It was a story that hit me really hard because as an immigrant myself, when I saw those things, and it instantly connects me and my grandmother, who I barely knew, but I just understand the struggles that much more real looking at
mm,
those items, and and just understands her journey, the difficulties. Now that I'm an immigrant myself, I have a little bit of experience that way. It just hit me really, really hard. So those are the stories that inspire my practice in a way that is make me aware who I am. I'm a person who travels thousands of miles away to build a new life. And my ancestors went through the same thing in her time. We all left to pursue a better life. We all have our dreams. We all have our difficulties, and we're trying to make it. And if not for her, my grandmother probably, I don't know how they're gonna be able to support themselves. It was a time of great difficulties in the 1950s, 60s. It was great difficulties. If not for my grandmother, I don't know if my grandmother, their family is gonna make it. Yeah,
mm.
yeah,
Wow, that's a beautiful story. Inspiration. There's a lot of inspiration there. I can feel
yeah.
that you've gotten from your ancestors and from your grandmother. Inspiration to create and to live a better life. Do you feel like you're doing that? That you're honoring your grandmother
Yes, I feel
that
I
way?
feel that way. Yes, I definitely feel that way. That I'm very happy and proud that I'm preserving immigrant story and
Mm,
telling them in my own way. So maybe 100 years from now, somebody look at my piece pointing to the papers or something in the work, they're gonna say, "Oh, that reminds me of what my grandmother told me," and that I will feel like I do my part, you know.
yeah. And do you feel any sense of urgency to get the message out and to help people understand through your art in these times that we're living in right now for
Absolutely.
immigrants? Yeah. I mean, it
Absolutely.
feels like it's more timely than ever.
I totally,
Sadly.
sadly, yes. I I grew up in the time that the world was opening up to each other. In the 80s, in the 90s, it's when everyone was talking about the global village. But at least that's what I was hearing, like global village, to go, everyone, and someday we're gonna travel, we're gonna, everyone's gonna live together happily in this planet and, within reach. But sadly, in the past decade, we've seen the doors are slowly, gradually closing, and there's a lot of challenge, understandably coming with living in multicultural communities.
Mhm.
People from different background, different cultures. You, there are, they it can bring challenge. But I think the importance is to see the benefit and the importance of people living together from different backgrounds, different cultures, how we can enrich each other's life, how we can help each other understanding the concept of living in general better. So I think that the right now is the time that we need to make our voices heard. When we hear immigration, when we hear immigrants, it's a label that you're hearing. It's a group of people that you are thinking. But it's not just a name. They have faces. It's collective individual journeys. Everyone come here with their own story. Now, when we put the stories to a person, when we understand them better, we can see similarities. You might be from California, I might be from China originally, but we might have the same dreams. We have
Mhm.
families, we care about our families, we want better life. These are the human natures that we I want to underscore. Regardless the different backgrounds, regardless where you're from, we're humans. We want the same thing. We want better life for ourselves, for our parents, for our families. And we're just working hard towards that goal, most of us. Yeah.
You're an artist that is bridging the Chinese heritage with your life in the US and life in the US. And are there, you talked about cultural art, are there any misconceptions that you wish about cultural art that you wish would go away as an artist? And I was thinking our friend Yusai Khan, there's a
Yes.
lot of similarities that you have with her. You're bridging, you're opening up the world to us here in China, and the heritage and the history, the migration, those stories. You're doing that much as Yusai Khan did with film.
Well, thank you. It's an
Yeah.
honor to be compared to her. She's such a legend and such an icon. I mean, yeah, I think my work it's introducing because a lot of my work, the visual, the mountains, it does come from or make reference to the traditional Chinese painting. Paper cut is one of the art, it's an art form that is practiced and many believe to originated from China. So I am introducing that to the world. But my goal is also to shine lights or to bring attention to the broader immigration community, the people who travel, who move either from China to the US or from Europe to US or from US to Europe for that matter, the people who move this impact. And I do want to show the world that, paper cut is not an art form that is just dated. It not dated, let me correct myself. It's not just an ancient art form that can only serve as a decorative purpose. No. I think other artists will agree that art forms can be reimagined, reinterpreted, and I think there are other artists doing the same thing, which is using a traditional art form and but then bridge it between contemporary and the ancient life, if that makes
Mm.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so important. When you go into a public space,
Hmm.
how do you incorporate the local stories into your public art pieces?
So for my public art pieces, I want to create site-specific work that truly bespoke and represent the community. The way I work is I will create a concept. I will have a concept. And then this work will have paper cut inspired perforation design. So how do we decide what design is best for the community? That's
Mhm.
when we talk to the public. That's when we host public paper cut workshops, introduce them to the art form, and encourage them to explore the art form and then think about the theme that about this project, about their city, their community, and then create paper cut designs that would potentially inspire the new artwork. And also I ask people to share with me pictures, photos of significance to them, to the community. And then take all these inspirations and then I come out and create the paper cut design. This way it truly reflects hopefully everybody's view about their city, the community.
You've got a gallery, and is it in Los Angeles? Can people visit your gallery?
Oh, my studio is in Los Angeles, and yes, people can visit if they yeah, but talk to me if it just Yeah, talk to me.
Okay. And you can, I'm going to give out all your information here in just a moment, but sijiachen.com, SIJIACHEN.com. You can contact Sijia there. And I'm sure it might be appointment only. I'm not sure, but start the conversation, start talking. When someone visits a gallery or when someone like Rubenstein Chan Contemporary Art Gallery here in Carpinteria, California, where you have worked some of your art pieces on for view for a viewer to see. What do you want a viewer to feel in those first 10 seconds in front of a piece of your art, beautiful piece of artwork? What do you hope that they're going to feel within that first 10 seconds? And then what do you hope that they'll take away and that will stay with them for a week, a month, a year? What what are you what do you hope?
That's a great question. The first 10 seconds. I think in the first 10 seconds, I want them to feel being taken in, being surrounded by all this paper cuts and informations, being submerged themselves into the painting, into the work. I think that's the first 10 seconds. And
Hmm.
after that, I hope that they can see the stories, see the papers, read through it, really take some time to read the papers, understand the stories behind. And I hope they can have a conversation with themselves. Maybe this can help them think about their own journey as a person. Yeah, that's my
That's a
hope.
good answer.
Yeah.
What pieces are you showing in Unfold at the Rubenstein Chan Contemporary Art Gallery?
So there are two pieces I'm sewing with them. One is on the other hand, on the other side. The other one is the dragon landing. So those two pieces are from this series called Cross the Water and Climbing the Mountains. This phrase, the name is from an ancient book, the Book of O, a Chinese ancient. And this phrase is meant to describe a long and challenging journey. And yep, that is dragon landing in your background right now. So I hope that that name that cross the water, the journey, it really reminds me of my immigrant journey and the journey of many others who share with me. So that's why I use this title to as a theme of this series of work. Yeah.
Well, CJ, it's been so great to talk to you. Our time has run out. Can you believe that? I
I
mean,
know,
it
it's so
feels
fun.
like we just got started. I want to send everybody to this really great short film of Sija's work, created by the Victoria and Albert Museum. I'm going to put the link in the podcast copy and the copy in the YouTube interview. Um, you can go to tinyurl.com/Sijia Chen. So it's again, SIJIACHEN. And it's a really, really beautiful short film that follows your process. And we get to look at your art and some of the materials that you use and tell your story a little bit more. You can follow Sijia on Instagram at Sijia Chen Art. Again, that I'll put that URL in the copy here. Sijia Studio's website is sijiachen.com. And you can see her art that we've mentioned at the Rubenstein Chan Contemporary Art Gallery. It's by appointment only. The phone number is 805-576-6152. Or you can email them and set up an appointment at hello@rubensteinchan.com. It's on 410 Palm Avenue, B3 Carpinteria, California. The It's called Unfold. I've seen it myself. It is beautiful. You definitely want to check it out. There are two other artists aside from Sijia Chen's art that's hanging there, Chiho Harazaki and Kaoru Mansour. I was able to meet Chiho and Kaoru, and hopefully I'll meet Sijia up there at the gallery one day soon. And the gallery's website is rubensteinchan.com. On Instagram, it's Rubenstein_Chan. You can find, you can see actually a lot of the artwork on those sites. Sijia, final words from you. Is there anything any of the listeners here can do to help support you and your art? Uh, is there anybody that you'd like to thank or any hellos you'd like to put out there?
Well, thank you for having me and giving me the platform to share my story and my art with your audience. And yes, I would love if anyone is listening who would like to contribute your stories or materials that you think is significant to you or your family's journey as someone who move around, someone who immigrant or migrant, please send it to contact@sijiachen.com. I would love to hear your stories. Thank you.
That's a great idea. I like that. All right. Thank you so much. So, as I say every week, have a great week, first of all, and communicate, but listen more and evolve. Sisha, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
our guest.